Hello, and welcome to Candidates Up Front. This is a public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. Our May 16th primary election is coming up. Democrats and Republicans will vote for judges, school directors, and county, township, borough, and city officials. The deadline to register to vote is May 1st. To check your voting status, go to votepa.gov. That's vote.pa.gov. You can register, change your party, locate your polling place, or apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. The deadline to register is May 1st. The deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot is May 9th. The League is interviewing those candidates who wanted to be interviewed in contested races. For each race, the candidates will get the same basic questions and the same amount of time to answer them. Hello, I'm Judith Cranus, a member of the League of Women Voters of Berks County. There are 3 candidates competing for a chance to be judge of the Court of Common Pleas. They're all cross-filed, and what that means is they are on the ballot for both the Democratic and the Republican Party. And those 3 are Justin Bodor, Jill Scheidt, and Kurt Geishauser. So voters all across the county will vote for 2 to be on the fall ballot. Now, the Court of Common Pleas hears trials of major criminal and civil matters. It hears matters involving children and families. And it hears appeals from the minor courts. The term is 10 years, and the salary for 2023 will be $212,495. Now, please note that the expressions of opinion in this interview are those of the candidate, not necessarily those of BCTV or the League of Women Voters. And today, our interviewee is Justin Bodor. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Judith. It's an honor to be here.
Justin, tell us about yourself and why you're running.
Sure. I'm running for judge because I'm a public servant. I've dedicated my life to public service. Public service has been something that has been ingrained in me from my family growing up. I grew up in Colebrookdale Township. I'm a lifelong Berks County resident. I graduated from Boyertown Area Senior High. I went to Albright College. I was fortunate enough to get the Eugene Shirk Scholarship, and then Dickinson School of Law. I started my career in the Public Defender's Office and moved to private practice, and for the last 12 and a half years I've had the honor of working as an assistant district attorney here in Berks County. I'm in court every day, and I have the courtroom experience and made the tough decisions to keep Berks County safe in my career as a prosecutor and hopefully as a judge as well. My wife, Jessica, and I, she's also a lifelong Berks County resident. She went to Schuylkill Valley High School. We live in the Ole Valley with our 2 children, Charlotte, age 7, and Gavin, age 4.
Mm-hmm. Tell us what personal qualities you feel you would bring to the bench that would make you an effective judge.
Well, first of all, just to go back to the original, my dedication to service and helping others. It's something that it's, again, been ingrained in me my entire life. I'm an Eagle Scout, and obviously I learned from family members about the importance of service above self. And I've tried to live that each and every day. I'm certainly knowledgeable about the law. I'm not afraid to make a decision for the right reasons, to make the right decision. And I believe I have the temperament and the intellect to do the job and do the job well.
Mm-hmm. You're all into service. Is there volunteer or community work you would like to tell us about?
Sure. I'm a former president of the Berks County Bar Association. I went up through the ranks there, treasurer, vice president, president-elect, and president in 2021. So obviously the Bar Association provides quite a bit of service to the community, and it's something we're very proud of in the legal aspect of service. I'm a former board member of the Reading Public Library. I'm a former board member as well of BCPS, which is Berks Connections Pretrial Services, which is here in Berks County, as well as TASK, which is a treatment provider as well. Right now, I'm currently, I just went off of the board for the Bar Association this past year. And my wife and I are keeping busy with our 2 kids. Our daughter's in 1st grade. Our son's going to kindergarten next year. So right now, our involvement in the community is mainly around their school, their preschool, and also sports as well in the community.
And when the organization, you mentioned the pretrial services, maybe you could just very quickly tell us what kinds of things that does.
Sure. That is a wonderful organization, and if you're not familiar with it, I implore you to look it up and see what they do for the community. First, really 2 parts to the organization. The first part has to do with the pretrial aspect, providing bail, providing services to the court, which ensure that people will appear for court and they're able to be out in the public and released, but also monitored while they're awaiting trial on charges. Obviously, that saves money in terms of avoiding pretrial incarceration for certain people where it's appropriate. And the Berks Connections part of it is just, again, another area where they're doing amazing things. First and foremost, they do programs where they have state grants for helping people get jobs and when they come out of incarceration. Also supporting family members and young people that are related to people that are incarcerated in the justice system. But the job thing is something I certainly believe in. I think I'm a big believer in, obviously, the value of work and the importance that is in one's life. Having access to jobs for people who are coming out of jail really is one part, but really does make all the difference for lowering recidivism and making people productive members of society.
Thank you, because I think that's important probably in how you look at the role of the judge and whether it's lock everybody up or get them rehabbed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, you're going to be a judge, you're going to be calling people for jury duty. How would you explain the duties that jurors would have and why it is so important that people serve as jurors?
Well, I go back to something the late, great Judge Yatrin, Paul Yatrin, said to jurors at the conclusion of trials. He would say something to the effect of, other than taking up arms to protect our soil as a member of the armed services, being on a jury and a juror is really the most important thing that we can do as citizens. One of the things that makes our country so great is our judicial system. We have the best judicial system in the world. And in our system, we're judged by a jury of our peers. I've obviously tried many jury trials and cases involving jurors, and it is such an important thing that we can do. If we want faith in the system, if us or any of our family members or friends are in the system, obviously we want jurors who come in, take it seriously, understand the importance and the duty of being a juror. And I'm very pleased in my career that people have taken that duty very seriously. So I think the thing I would tell people as jurors are if you get that jury duty summons and notice, just know how important it is and what a civic duty it is and how important it is for our system. Our system couldn't work without jurors.
Thank you. Now, Pennsylvania is one of 2 states that does not provide any state funding to the Public Defender's Office. Public defenders are funded by county taxes, and this causes disparity from one judicial district to another. How do you feel about this funding issue?
Well, I think that's one of the areas that obviously needs to be funded under the Constitution. The 6th Amendment provides the right to counsel, and certainly public defenders do that. I'm a bit partial here, having served in the Public Defender's Office, but I know what kind of good people and attorneys are in that office. So the funding is obviously very important, and really having competent, strong representation really does save taxpayers in the long run in terms of appeals and trying cases over again. In terms of state funding versus county funding, I certainly am more for local control in these type of things as far as how we administer it. I tell you we do a great job here in Berks County. But in terms of funding and state funding, obviously the importance really is not how it's funded, but just that it's adequately funded so we have fair and effective legal representation.
Thank you. Would you please give us your views on plea bargaining?
Well, I think the term plea bargaining in itself is somewhat of a misnomer. In my experience, obviously, as a prosecutor, obviously we make plea offers, and to say plea deals is not necessarily accurate, because Those offers are based on a lot of different things in terms of people's prior record score, the gravity score of each offense, standard ranges, and just other factors in the case, age of defendant, age of victims, etc. So there's a lot of things that go into when we make an offer. Obviously, we have thousands of cases in the criminal court system every year, and we couldn't possibly try every one. But when we talk about a plea offer, what we're really talking about is a situation where we make an offer for whatever it may be, jail or probation, with requirements that ensure that people follow the directions, the terms that the community, the victims are protected, and certainly in terms of rehabilitation for the offender. And quite frankly, it's a situation where people, one, can take responsibility, where victims and witnesses know and defendants know that there's certainty as to the outcome of a case. And again, there's ultimately goes to the discretion of the judges who have the ability to accept or reject any agreements based on the facts and their interpretation of it as well. So it's certainly something that is common, but something necessary as well in the system.
Thank you. Now, if you're elected, is there an area you would prefer to serve in? And would it be criminal, civil, family, or one of the other special courts? And tell us why that's your main interest.
Well, I can tell you that I would feel comfortable serving in any area of the court. My experience has been as a trial attorney, and as a trial attorney and doing trials as an attorney for the Commonwealth. Obviously, the rules of evidence, case law, rule of law are things that we obviously familiar with, study, and really put into practice all the time. So I believe that experience as a trial attorney does translate, obviously, to any area of the law that I would be asked to serve. And obviously, in Berks County, judges serve where they're needed and where they're assigned by the president judge. In terms of special interest, I can tell you this. I've been honored for the last 10 years to run our drug treatment court program for the DA's office. And I know we only have a certain limited amount of time. I would love to talk about that for a half an hour. Maybe that'll be another show. But I'm really proud of those courts because really the goal of what we're trying to do in terms of being a prosecutor and what judges are trying to do in the criminal system is protecting the public, keeping people who are dangerous off the street to protect them from the public, but understanding that a vast majority of the people that are in the system are in due to things such as drug and alcohol abuse, mental health, certain issues that affect veterans, because we have a separate veterans court. I've been so proud to be a part of those, to come up with solutions that help people stay out of the system, help people better their lives, and help keep the public safe. So if I do have a particular interest, it's certainly those programs because of my experience with them, and I've seen the results of where we change people's lives and make the community better and safer.
Thank you. Now, let's say you do have a convicted criminal and you're in sentencing part of things. What factors do you think are important to consider when you're doing that sentencing?
Well, the Sentencing Commission in Pennsylvania does give us a number of factors to consider, and there's factors to consider, obviously, as part of the laws and the rules that we follow as well. Certainly in every single case, and I've talked to many people in the system, victims, about this as well, we look at, first and foremost, the prior record score of the defendant, of the offender. So depending on how the number of times in the system, the number of convictions and offenses, that number goes anywhere from 0 to 5, can be a repeat felon. We also have what's called offense gravity scores for each charge. Obviously, there's differences depending on what the charge is and what the person's convicted of. We take those, and there's a standard range of sentences that gives judges the discretion within that range. Now, the judges in Berks County, judges everywhere really, have discretion to go above and beyond aggravating or mitigating sentences based on a number of factors. And so that's going to be the framework of which we go by. And the reason for these standard ranges is just to have some consistency around the Commonwealth. So you're not seeing judges in one county having very different sentences necessarily in another part of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Obviously, we apply those, but it's not a robotic thing. We look at so many different factors, and factors that will apply to do the right thing to protect the public, and to have a goal of rehabilitation versus keeping dangerous people off the streets.
When do you think an alternative to jail is appropriate? What kinds of things?
Sure. Again, I go back to the treatment court program that we have for nonviolent offenders. I think it has to do with what is the appropriate remedy to keep people from coming back in the system. That's really the goal. What we don't want, and I think what we've found before historically, is someone would go to jail, they'd come out, they wouldn't have a job, they'd have no structure, and we'd go back and do the same thing over and over again. And as we all know, it's not cheap to put someone in jail. I use the number of about 50,000, could be a little more than that. It depends on what state and what jail. The question becomes, how can we best use our resources and utilize them in a way that protects the public and rehabilitates the offender. Part of the drug treatment court program, what we realize is if we can save bed dates for certain people that it's appropriate, we can utilize that money through treatment and outpatient treatment, job training, readiness, these type of things that, again, will change lives and keep people from just repeating throughout the system over and over.
Mm-hmm. We were talking before about the special courts. Do you think we need any additional special courts?
Well, I think right now we're really lucky in Berks County that a lot of counties don't have all the specialty courts that we have. So we've really been ahead of the curve for some time in Berks County, and I'm very proud of the programs that we have here and the treatment professionals that are involved, the attorneys and the judges as well. People take it very seriously, and there's dedicated people there. Obviously, there's some counties that have juvenile treatment courts, and there's a number of other courts as well. We go to trainings around the state, and certainly we have a lot of different access to different trainings to learn about these programs. So I think right now we're really in envy of many parts of the Commonwealth in terms of the treatment courts we do have. I failed to mention the DUI treatment court, again, is another very important treatment court that's extremely well run and a great program. So I think that they're important. I think we have a number of them. I can't right now say, oh, we really need to have this or that or another one, because we do put quite a bit of focus and time into these courts as it is now, and we've had great results.
Thank you. Now, under what circumstances would you recuse yourself during a case?
Well, there's really two main things in terms of recusing yourself. First of all, if you have any kind of personal involvement in a case, obviously that's a time when you would need to recuse yourself. Or if it's a party, there's parties involved in the case that you may know somebody, it's a friend, neighbor, child of a friend, etc. Obviously, these are times when a judge would recuse his or herself. And I also look at times where even when a judge feels that you could be fair and impartial, is there an appearance of impropriety? Obviously, in terms not only your own personal issues, but it's also so important in the court system that what we show the public and the public has to know the integrity of the system and be open and forward about that. So those are really the circumstances, but it does go down to whether, for whatever reason, if there's a reason that a judge could not be fair and impartial in a case, recusal is the appropriate remedy there.
Mm-hmm. And would you tell our viewers why the position of judge is so important, that people who normally wouldn't come out and vote in a primary election should be coming out this time to vote?
Well, a couple reasons. One, as everyone's aware, that the judicial branch is 1/3 of our government. So it is a big part of our government and a big part of what's important to us as citizens. As far as and obviously, as we know, the only way for us as citizens to have a voice initially in our most basic way is to vote. It's part of the democracy, and it's important. These are decisions that are going to be made that are very likely going to affect your lives, or certainly the lives of a friend or family member, whether someone's charged with a crime or a victim of a crime or a witness, or even things such as whether someone gets divorced, child custody, has a civil dispute, etc. All these things are of the greatest importance to the public, and chances are sometime in your lifetime this is going to affect you. The reason it's important to vote always, and certainly for this race as well in an off-year election for the judicial races, is you're voting for a person who is going to make these decisions. As you said before, this is a 10-year term and then retention elections thereafter. So again, you want to make sure that if you're in the court system for whatever reason, even as a juror or any reason to come in the courthouse, that you have judges that are making the right decisions for the right reasons, that have the experience to make those decisions, and also the character and the temperament. So that's why it's of utmost importance to the citizens of Berks County to vote, and I ask that you do come out to vote on May 16th.
Thank you. Now you have 1 minute to make a closing statement, if you would.
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank you, Judith, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters. I've been so blessed in my life growing up in Berks County in a blue-collar family that stressed character and hard work and stressed the importance to serve others. I've tried to do that every single day of my professional career to make Berks County a better, safer place for your family and mine. I believe that I have the character, the experience, and the temperament to be a fine judge. I have the utmost love and respect for the judicial system, and if I didn't believe that I could do those things and be that kind of judge, I wouldn't be sitting here campaigning and going for this position. I believe in my heart of hearts that I can, and I can promise you, if elected, I will treat everybody with dignity, respect, their voice will be heard, and I can promise you that if I'm elected, I'll never forget where I came from, and I'll be a judge that you could be proud of.
Well, thank you. And voters, this was Justin Bodor sharing his views on the Court of Common Pleas. I urge you to remember that there are 2 other candidates in the race. They're both on the Democratic and Republican ballot, and they are Jill Scheidt and Kurt Geishauser. And voters will vote for 2 of the 3. There are 2 open positions. So I thank you for watching Candidates Up Front. You will find the Candidates Up Front interviews on BCTV and on its website and its YouTube page. And for more information on candidates, you can go to the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. Or you can contact Berks County Election Services, elections@countyofberks.com. Their phone number is 610-478-6490. And thank you for watching Candidates Up Front.